It only took 1 week. It took 7 days, during which time I spent glued to my screen, to become completely enamored with the video game that would change my life. When I first played Skyrim, in February of 2023, I was at a really low point. I just recovered the summer before from my first bout of what I understand now was severe depression, and throughout that winter I found myself slipping back into it. I was struggling to keep up in school, getting excellent grades but having a hard time completing work. I was distancing myself from my friends, my family, from extracurriculars, and the things I loved. I felt isolated, and even worse when I saw the posts of everyone together on social media. When I finally thought I was starting to get a grip again, as spring drew closer, I contracted COVID-19 for the second time. It completely wiped me out, and any progress I'd completed to involve myself in social circles again was gone. I was miserable. The loneliness I'd felt before was now eating me up inside as I missed out on another week of unclaimed coffee dates and movie nights. I could do little more than drag myself between my bed and the couch, my husband dotingly making sure that I ate. That's when he asked me, "Do you want to play Skyrim?" I just gifted him a PS4 and a few games on my father-in-law's recommendation, one of which he'd insisted was Skyrim, and so it was included. I had no knowledge of it, only that it was a childhood favorite of my husband's and my father-in-law adored it. So I accepted. I never expected, going into this little open-world fantasy game, that I would find the closeness and interaction that I'd craved for months past. I've played video games all my life. My sister and I would play Mario Bros. On our DS's every road trip. Family game nights on the Wii, hopping between Wii Sports and Mario Kart were regular. I became a Stardew Valley and Minecraft frequenter when I started dating my now husband during COVID. They all served as an escape in a way, as vivid entertainment to pass the time, but I'd never experienced the potential of what video games could be until I played Skyrim. Compared to the idle fulfillment of the Mario games or the absent-minded coziness in games like Unpacking or Animal Crossing, in Skyrim I actually felt seen. I felt notable in my actions. The characters saw the deeds that I completed as the Dragonborn, and I finally felt inspired again after my months of succumbing to the seasonal blues. I loved helping people with their various misadventures, finding items that they sought out, receiving their praise and thanks and admiration as I advanced. It lacked the idle quality that I found in other games. It was entirely engaging. It continued to be a difficult semester after that first time I played Skyrim, and a difficult year since, but when I think of Skyrim, I still get this sense of warmth and comfort. I had a companion in the beginning of my first playthrough, Sven. He was one of the beginner companions. He didn't have incredible stats or sick abilities, but I asked him to follow me, and he did. Somewhere along the way, as I explored and learned the game, Sven got killed in action. I didn't even notice until I'd returned to the town and saw that he wasn't trailing along. I skipped between recent saves for an hour, frantically, but couldn't find him. It was devastating. I was inconsolable about it for days, and even now, thinking back on it, I regret not taking care of him. It made me look back into myself. Why was I so upset about this little video game character? I realized that I blamed myself for not being good enough, for not doing well enough. Throughout my life, I've had this severe fear of failure and fear of imperfection to the point that I will put off doing absolutely anything if I don't think I can do it well. And in losing Sven, that fear was realized. Further, he was the first friend that I'd truly made in Skyrim, and he was gone, resonating with that distance from my friends in real life. In my newer playthroughs, I refuse to bring him along as a companion, but I do check in on him now and then between adventures and quests. Even though it was a common mechanic of the game among companions to have the ability to lose these characters that aren't essential to the main route of the game or main story, it still hurt. In Skyrim, you're forced into these interactions whether you like it or not. To progress the storyline, you need to meet with people, to trade, to seek out information or objects from certain characters, and there are so many which have unique personalities, traits, and impacts on you as a character. Meeting people like Serana, a vampire with some extreme daddy issues and an elder scroll, my personal favorite companion, or Delphine, a strong fighter with an iron will, added this incredible variety to the game that I hadn't seen before. There are points where you must take a companion to continue, like with Serana, and in doing so, you find these beautiful, personal, and unique interactions that are lacking in so many games. You feel that you're part of this world as you develop your reputation, and others' view of you changes, such as the guards' dialogue as you join different guilds and acquire skills.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
I found a great home in the Thieves Guild, something I dreaded completing the quest for when I first started, but grew to love and became incredibly emotionally attached to. I might still be a little cranky that Brynjolf won't talk to me anymore. It's devastating to lose a companion that you grow such a bond to, but it makes you realize how personal this game is. How truly emotional and touching that you can find such relationships. That Sven would follow me to the end even as I led him to his death. One incredible thing about Skyrim, something I think everyone appreciates, is the variety of tasks you can complete in-game. There's fighting, of course, and Skyrim has dozens of skill trees which you can complete. There are so many skills to learn and so many tasks to accomplish. There are armor rooms to fill with your trophies and creations to show off what you have put your effort into. Aside from these opportunities Skyrim affords, like archery or magic or lockpicking even, it also gives you the space for everyday tasks. I have spent hours organizing my inventory, creating potions, cooking, even farming various foods and ingredients. They're such basic tasks, but have taken up so many hours of my gameplay. I didn't fully understand it at the time of my first interaction with Skyrim, but I was also struggling with undiagnosed ADHD. It made everyday tasks in my real life often unmanageable, especially coupled with the returning decline of my mental health. In my focus on Skyrim, however, I found an environment that felt manageable. I thought, is this what normal people feel like? With ADHD, your brain isn't wired to think and do certain things like normal. But what is normal? There's a broad spectrum of normativity, and we have to realize that our minds are complex. I think almost everyone goes through a period in which they feel like they're different or not normal. Whether that's through neurodivergency, like in my experience, in their social life, in school, at home. What we experience individually is our own normal. Skyrim was one of the first places that gave me the confidence in myself to accept that, to understand that I'm not abnormal, but rather individual. It showed me that I could manage, but I just needed adaptations that I hadn't understood and translated into the real world yet. It fulfilled this fantasy of control that I dreamed of in the mess of my day-to-day life. Skyrim handed me these tools, like the ability to save and go back, return and try again and again until I completed the task at hand, helping me eliminate that fear of failure that I carry so close. There are certainly limitations in Skyrim to overcome. There'll be a cliff right where you think you'll be able to stroll over to a destination. Random enemies will pop up when you least expect them, setting you back on potions and sustenance, or even back to your previous save. You might not have the right spell to face an encounter, or not notice an important glyph to solve a puzzle, but you persevere until you finish the problem. It makes me wonder, why do we keep going back and back, failing and failing over again until we get it right? Why don't we always carry that behavior in real life with the same stubbornness and reluctance to quit? In this fantasy world, we find such meaning in our determination and the eventual success that we acquire. Moving forward, it's something that I want to integrate into my life more. This persistence that we find in video games that propels us to work at a task until we're successful, instead of turning around when things get hard. The mindset to complete the challenges, no matter how difficult they are. I want completion in my life like I find completion in my quests. I think a big impact which allows for this dedication was how Skyrim allows you to create a personal insert. When you create a character, it's not necessarily you, but you are acting as that character for the duration of your playthrough. I designed mine to be reminiscent of myself, and acted not necessarily how I would in real life, but how I thought would further her life and accomplishment. This gave me the mental distance to be able to complete these tasks that I found so strenuous normally. You're inserted into this world and have a clear role, but you can personalize that role and affect the game's predetermined narrative in an infinite number of ways based on who you are and who you choose to play as. The entire region of Skyrim is impacted by the decisions you make, whether you side with the Stormcloaks or Imperials, or decide to ignore that plot altogether. Personally, I was getting to a point in my life where I wasn't feeling that I had a worth, or an impact on anything important in the immediate future I saw drawn out in front of me. In Skyrim, you don't just matter. You're absolutely essential to the outcome and progression of the story. Skyrim creates a world in which you can carve out a path, live this incredible journey, and it's due in large part to its immersivity. You're able to escape what troubles you and come to this place and are so drawn in that you can forget about anything outside of it. Something I found particularly that curated this experience was the scenery and the music. Skyrim is filled with incredible locations that literally cause you to stop and stare. Whether playing by myself on the couch or streaming Skyrim to my viewers on Twitch, there are moments where I just have to pause everything that I'm doing and appreciate the beauty that's presented for me. And in that moment, it is presented for me personally, in my journey. The music, through all of the experiences and encounters as I grew to love this game and trekked across the map of Skyrim, created a strong sense of nostalgia. It's like when you read your favorite childhood storybook again, or flip through a book of family photographs. It brings this soft comfort, a longing, and a sense of peace. I think it's so indicative of the impact that something even as mundane as a video game can bring you. Even now, I find myself listening to the Skyrim soundtrack when I'm stressed, or feeling hopeless again, or when I just need something peaceful to study to. I never thought that something like a video game could incite these emotions in me, or make me cling to its memory like I would a real experience. Maybe it's just human nature, to latch onto things that make you feel like this. The beauty of Skyrim resounds in many ways across my life, as I both move on to other things and when I'm drawn back into the world it brought me. Skyrim gave me, and still gives me, a break from the intensity of real life, from the hardships and expectations that I'm faced with every day. It's a space in which those things have no impact. It makes me feel wanted, important, especially in those days when I felt I lacked that significance in my life, and it still has this influence on me. Skyrim is an incredibly nuanced game that establishes an intricate and memorable connections with its players, and will forever be one of my favorite games.